It is wonderful to be here. It's a very beautiful church, and I am so happy to be in your midst this afternoon. When I see you, I rejoice. My sisters and brothers, once a university professor decided to give her students an unusual midterm exam. She did only one thing: handed each one of her students a blank sheet of paper with simple instructions. List all the burdens you have carried this week, which you were not supposed to carry. And then students, being students, began to list all the burdens they have carried. And first on the list was parents' expectations, professors' academic demands, fear about the future, financial anxiety, the need, desire to control every outcome in life, perfectionism. At the end of this unusual midterm exam, the professor collected all the papers and began to go through all of them and was able to, one by one, show the students that all these burdens were self-imposed. None of them was imposed upon them by their parents, none by the teachers. Not even one was imposed upon them by their life circumstances and situations. You might be wondering, why is this guy telling us about this university professor and her students on this day? It is important because in today's gospel, Jesus tells us, let go of all your burdens, of all your yoke, and take mine. Because all our yoke, all our burdens are self-imposed. It is important to understand the historical context of today's gospel reading. Why Jesus had to say this to the people, because that would help us to understand the meaning of today's gospel in our present life. When Jesus spoke to the people, these were people, the Jews in Judea at the time. They were exhausted, tired of life. They were oppressed. They were taxed heavily by the Romans on the one hand, and on the other hand, the scribes and the Pharisees, these people imposed heavy penalties, laws upon them. On the one hand, you can't run away from the Romans with all their taxation. You can't run away from the IRS. But on the other hand, your leaders who were supposed to make life easy, they made it all the more difficult for them. Their life was without hope. They long awaited the Messiah. And lo and behold, Jesus came. They all went to hear him, to listen to the message of hope. Like the Jews of Jesus' time, we all carry different forms of burdens. We worry about our families. We worry about the future, fear of the future, or the financial anxiety, the bills, bill. We gotta pay. There's never a time that we are let off the hook from paying the bills. We worry about our health. Each time we go to the doctors, is always one news that kicks up our anxiety. And we can't sleep at night because there's so many bad news. We hear more bad news in the world today than good news. The bad news we hear outweighs the good. We are exhausted from trying to meet everyone's expectation. And all these weigh us down. We live in a world that tells us that Our self-worth is tied to our output. It's tied to what we can offer. And because of that, we pile expectations up onto our schedules, our families, our careers. And these expectations become burden that keep us from enjoying peace, tranquility, and happiness in life. And more often than not, in all these circumstances, when we have done all this, try to meet all these expectations, we still find ourselves living a life that is burdensome and tough. And today God has a message for all of us. He tells us to do first, to recognize that we do not journey through life alone. You are never alone. There's never a time that you are left by yourself. Because sometimes we feel, oh, life is so hard. I can't do it alone. You have never been alone. He has been by your side. Just like he said, take my yoke. To take my yoke, it means to walk with me. When you, in the Old Testament, Christian, in the New Testament days, the yoke is used to place on the shoulder of oxen so that they can plow the field. They carry it together. The Lord is telling you, I am walking this life, this journey with you. I am by your side. To take my yoke in biblical terms means to accept partnership with God, partnership of love, partnership of trust, partnership of shared effort. Not just our effort. The heaviest burden in life is the belief that we can, that everything depends on us. That's the heaviest of all the burdens people could carry in life. And sometimes we are overwhelmed by this burden that we can carry everything, that everything depends on us, and we want to do our will instead of the will of God. I can spend the rest of the day to talk to you about time and time again when I tried to do things my own way, and how God, in his loving mercy, has continued to stop me from doing my will, to stop me from letting my own impulses lead the way. My sisters and brothers, God is telling us today to surrender all our worries, all our fears to him. The church is almost telling us, surrender your life to Jesus. Give him your all. Surrender your life to Jesus today. When we surrender and give everything over to him, then we will feel the power of God's love acting and operating in our lives. It is that same power that will help us to understand that God comes to intervene when we can no longer help ourselves. Today, let us take a look at those things that weigh us down, those things that we carry. Write them down. If you have a cross at home, place it under your cross at home and pray over them. If your cross is hanging on the wall, find a place to fix them, insert them. Let Jesus take control of those worries. We do not control the outcome of events in our lives. God does. And today we celebrate. Today is we celebrate the 250 years of our country's independence. As we rejoice today, as we see the fireworks, let us remember that the truest independence is dependence on God. The truest independence is dependence on God. When I am down And oh, my soul so weary, when trouble comes and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come, sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can